Under the bright lights of a roaring Connecticut arena, two men walked toward destiny, each carrying the hopes, the scars, and the silent hunger that only fighters understand. Victor Ortiz, the relentless, hard-charging southpaw, entered the ring with the fire of a man who refused to be denied again. The world had doubted him, questioned his heart, questioned whether he still belonged among the elite. Tonight, he stepped forward to rewrite that story. Across from him stood Berto, the undefeated champion, a man molded from explosive speed and raw power, ranked among the best welterweights on the planet. Draped in confidence and carrying the aura of a champion, Berto was expected by many to simply outclass his challenger. But the energy in the building told a different story. Something wild, unpredictable, and violent was brewing. As the referee gave his final instructions, the atmosphere thickened with tension. Two young warriors, both American, both proud, both desperate for greatness, stared into each other's eyes. They touched gloves, not in respect but in acknowledgement. Tonight would not be a chess match, nor a tactical duel. Tonight would be a war. With the opening bell, the storm broke loose, Ortiz charging forward behind compact hooks, Berto looking to intercept him with lightning counters. Every footstep echoed with intent. Every breath carried the weight of futures hanging in the balance. What unfolded would soon become a fight whispered about in gyms, debated by fans, and remembered as one of the greatest welterweight battles of its era. A fight where heart replaced logic, where courage overshadowed caution, and where two men abandoned safety to pursue glory in its purest blood and sweat form. The first round set the tone for the chaos to come. Ortiz, refusing to feel his way into the fight, came forward with a fury rarely seen so early. He dug his feet into the canvas and let his hands fly. Short, sharp, compact punches designed not for beauty, but for destruction. Berto tried to answer with crisp right hands, but Ortiz walked straight through them, unfazed, emboldened. Every time Berto attempted to pivot away, Ortiz smothered him, forcing him into the ropes, forcing him into a brawl he never asked for. Midway through the opening frame, Ortiz landed a thudding left hand that sent Berto stumbling back, enough to wobble the champion, enough to send shockwaves through the crowd. Though the referee ruled an early slip instead of a knockdown, the message had been delivered. Ortiz came here to break the champion down, piece by piece. Under the bright lights of a roaring Connecticut arena, two men walked toward destiny, each carrying the hopes, the scars, and the silent hunger that only fighters understand. Victor Ortiz, the relentless, hard-charging southpaw, entered the ring with the fire of a man who refused to be denied again. The world had doubted him, questioned his heart, questioned whether he still belonged among the elite. Tonight, he stepped forward to rewrite that story. Across from him stood Berto, the undefeated champion, a man molded from explosive speed and raw power, ranked among the best welterweights on the planet. Draped in confidence and carrying the aura of a champion, Berto was expected by many to simply outclass his challenger. But the energy in the building told a different story. Something wild, unpredictable, and violent was brewing. As the referee gave his final instructions, the atmosphere thickened with tension, and he wasn't done. Moments later, another straight left ripped through Berto's guard, and this time there was no doubt. Berto crashed to the corner, officially down. The fans erupted. The undefeated champion was hurt badly, and his challenger sensed blood in the water. Ortiz's eyes burned with the look of a man fighting not just an opponent, but every doubt that had ever shadowed his name. The second round offered no reprieve. Ortiz continued to impose his will, throwing menacing hooks, ripping power shots inside, and refusing to take a backward step. Berto's legs looked shaky, his balance uncertain. He was in a storm he wasn't prepared for, a relentless assault from a challenger who fought like a man possessed. The champion tried to counter sharply, but Ortiz absorbed everything with a terrifying resilience. The early narrative was clear. This would be no routine title defense. This was a fight for survival. By the third and fourth rounds, the night had become a roller coaster of momentum swings. Ortiz continued to pour on pressure, but Berto, a champion for a reason, began firing back with desperation and venom. He landed a handful of brutal right hands, the type of punches that typically stop welterweights in their tracks. But Ortiz kept coming, fueled by something deeper than adrenaline. His chin held, his resolve hardened. Still, Berto was too dangerous to be ignored. In the midst of an exchange, he clipped Ortiz cleanly with a right hand that forced the challenger's glove to touch the canvas, an official knockdown. The crowd gasped. The momentum had shifted. But Ortiz didn't blink. He rose, nodded, and marched straight back into the fire. And that's when the fight reached mythical proportions. In the sixth round, a round now etched into highlight reels forever, Berto unleashed a perfect right hand from hell. It detonated on Ortiz's chin, sending him crashing backward, collapsing flat onto the canvas. The arena exploded. Ortiz lay dazed, blinking, breathing in the reality of catastrophe. It looked over. It looked done. But then, against all logic, Ortiz rose at the count of 5, steadied himself, and signaled he was ready to continue. And incredibly, as soon as the action resumed, both men traded like warriors possessed until Ortiz landed his own monstrous shot, a left hook that shook Berto and sent him tumbling to the mat in a breathtaking exchange. 2 knockdowns in mere moments. The crowd had ascended into chaos. Commentators shouted in disbelief. The fight was now a slugfest of historic proportions. Pure heart, pure will, 2 men refusing to surrender. Round 6 wasn't just dramatic. It was one of the greatest rounds in welterweight history. After the madness of the 6th round, the middle frames became a battle of exhaustion, courage, and survival. Both men were hurt. Both men were fatigued, but neither man was willing to step back into safety. Ortiz continued applying the same suffocating pressure, hammering power shots to the head and occasionally mixing in body work that made Berto wince. Every time Ortiz bullied him to the ropes, the champion's legs betrayed him, wobbling, buckling, searching for balance that simply wasn't there. Yet Berto wouldn't fold. He answered with blistering counter-rights, hooks thrown off pure instinct, and uppercuts meant to turn the tide. The crowd stood almost continuously now, sensing they were witnessing something special. Ortiz's face showed the marks of war, swelling cheeks, reddened skin, blood streaked near the mouth, but his expression never wavered. He fought like a man determined to erase every criticism that had ever been hurled his way. The middle rounds were relentless. Neither fighter could afford a breather. Even in clinches, their bodies trembled with exhaustion, but the referee broke them quickly, forcing them back into open combat. Berto, for the first time all night, began finding moments of rhythm, short combinations, the jab snapping out, the right hand landing with authority. He was digging deep, showing the heart of a champion. Yet each time he clawed his way back into the fight, Ortiz would step in with another clubbing left that sent sweat bursting into the air. Both corners yelled instructions, pleading for discipline, but neither fighter truly listened. This was now a fight being dictated by pride rather than strategy, and with every passing minute, the question grew louder. How much more punishment could either man absorb? As the championship rounds arrived, fatigue hung over the ring like a fog. Both fighters had given pieces of their soul over the previous 9 rounds, but only one man still had the momentum burning behind him: Victor Ortiz. By the 10th, he had rediscovered his second wind. He moved forward with grim determination, hammering Berto with straight lefts that snapped the champion's head back violently. Berto's legs were once again betraying him. He leaned against the ropes for support, shaking his head, motioning Ortiz in as if daring him to throw more. It was bravado, but also desperation. Ortiz obliged. He blasted hooks, uppercuts, and overhand lefts, each one shaking the champion to his core. Still, Berto refused to fall. His heart, the one thing nobody could question, kept him in the fight. But his offense had slowed. His combinations came fewer and farther between, while Ortiz kept grinding forward, physically dominant, relentless, punishing. Commentators noted that Ortiz was fighting like a man reborn, disciplined, focused, fearless. By the 11th, it was clear the fight had swung firmly in his favor. Berto still searched for the one perfect countershot to save his title, but Ortiz refused to give him the space or timing to land it clean. Instead, he smothered him with volume, pressure, and body-breaking power. Every second felt like a test of will. Ortiz wouldn't stop, Berto wouldn't quit, and the crowd roared with every exchange, fully aware they were witnessing a fight whose legacy would outlive the night. When the 12th round began, the arena vibrated with anticipation. Both men touched gloves one final time before launching into the last chapter of their violent masterpiece. Ortiz pressed forward immediately, determined not to give Berto a miracle opening. His punches, though thrown from a fatigued body, still carried weight, still carried menace. Berto tried to rally, summoning whatever strength he had left, but his shots lacked the sharpness of earlier rounds. The champion looked battered, bruised, drained. Ortiz, sensing history within reach, dug deeper than ever. Again, he drove Berto back to the ropes, landing thudding lefts and right hooks while the crowd roared with every impact. Berto tried to fire back, but his legs buckled, his balance faltered, and his shots lacked the snap they once had. Still, he stood his ground. Still, he refused to fall. It was a testament to a champion's courage, even in defeat. When the final bell sounded, both men dropped their hands and stared at each other, with exhaustion, with respect, and with the silent acknowledgement that they had shared something unforgettable. The decision now rested in the hands of the judges. As the announcers stepped to center ring, the crowd held its breath. Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards, and then the words that changed everything. Winner by unanimous decision, and new WBC welterweight champion of the world, Vicious Victor Ortiz. The arena erupted. Ortiz raised his arms, tears swelling in his eyes as the belt wrapped around his waist. In one night, through chaos, knockdowns, and pure heart, he resurrected his career and delivered one of the greatest performances of his life. Berto, though defeated, walked out with honor intact, having given every ounce of himself in a bout destined for legend.